Hey guys, what's going on? All right, so I tried this live stream like impromptu by myself once before, and it went okay. And I'll admit, this is like force feeding a new lesson for me, a new skill set. So we'll see how I do. I was reading something this morning. I'll just call it what it is. It made me a little bit inspired, a little bit manic, and I went and shot a LinkedIn post. And the video was like 6 minutes long. I'm like, well, damn, nobody's gonna watch a post for 5 to 6 minutes. I might as well go live for 10 and see how we do. But I want to talk about the subject of the importance of innovation. And first, I'm going to share what I was reading. So there's a guy who used to work at Amazon, and he was part of the Kindle team that they had. And if you guys know what Kindle is, it's an e-reader. It's like a little tablet, but is really built for you to read digital books. And the guy was talking about his experience of building the Kindle and like what their goals were and what Jeff Bezos' mindset within that. And he frames it with an understanding first. He goes, you got to understand, at the time of building the Kindle, Amazon, like over 50% of their revenue, like a huge chunk of their revenue, was still coming from selling books, paperback books. Like that was their moneymaker. That was their meal ticket. That was what Amazon did. And yet Jeff Bezos took the guy who managed kind of that ecosystem, fired him from that job, and put him in charge of building the Kindle, which would basically cannibalize and kill, if they hit it right, the main revenue driver that they have as an organization, selling books. Because, well, now we're not going to sell books, we're just going to sell digitized versions of it. And the guy explains that what Amazon's secret weapon, and if you guys maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't, Amazon's a pretty good company. In fact, every organization in the country is deathly afraid of Amazon choosing to come into their business. If you remember, if you're a mortgage professional watching this, there was a rumor that Amazon was going to come into mortgage, and like everyone was up in arms because like we all know, like if they ever come into mortgage for real, man, we've got a battle on our hands. And so, with that, the guy had described how Jeff has this mindset that good enough is not good enough. That just because the greatest invention in the world, a book, works, people can read, doesn't mean that it couldn't be better and it shouldn't be better. And really it was challenging the concept of how innovating, not saying good enough, is vital to your success. And so it got me thinking about stuff that we're working on. But first, let me mention a couple brands to you guys as kind of proof points of what I'm talking about. Think of Peloton, right? Like treadmills have been collecting clothes hangers for years. So have stationary bikes. Like they've been around. I mean, I think I've owned 2 or 3 of them in my life. I remember my grandparents had one. So what the hell would a technology company think building a new stationary bike would do? Well, they did it with innovation. Think of Tesla, right? Like electric cars had existed, the Prius, that little electric car deal, right? And then, well, motorized car, gas level cars had always existed. Yet why would they go and they build a complete brand new version of the automobile? What were they thinking? Why would they do this? And the reason being is because they understood that the consumer behavior was going to change, that we were going to want more automation. We would want autonomous driving. We would want a smarter automobile. Same thing for Spotify, right? Spotify, like we've had music, we've had CD, we've had downloads. You can do satellite radio. You got all variations within radio. So why the hell did we need another new delivery method of music? But because of innovation. So then you think of the mortgage business, guys. And you compare where your business was 1990, if you've been around for a while. The business worked. We got loans closed. We took loans on paper applications in a lot of cases. We communicated with email. You had pagers, I guess, and then eventually, all this stuff happened. We had appraisers doing appraisals. Like we did not need to invent things, technology, such as online applications for the consumer. We did not need to innovate things like consumer portals because we were able to pick up the phone and talk to our borrowers. We didn't need to innovate things like, and I guess this came from the agencies, but appraisal waivers and now dual AUS. We didn't need to innovate digital closing Because, well, we had title reps. So why did we do this innovation? Because like Amazon showed us, that if you don't innovate, if you don't continue to say good enough is not good enough, you're going to get left behind. And so what that got me thinking in the mortgage business is, A, what should we expect of our companies? And B, what should we expect of ourselves? Because the thing to understand about the innovations that I just referenced with regards to dual AUS and with regards to online apps is like that was kind of forced on us. Like our companies had did this innovation and said, here, you go use this. And then the consumers got word of it, got wind of it, and they started to demand it. To where now the latest survey that I read says that if a consumer, 90+% of the time, wants to use an online application versus taking an application in person with us. And those originators that held on to the old school, well, I take my apps in person because that's what works for me, got left behind. Because the consumer said, I don't want to do that. You're just slowing me down. I'd rather do it at night on my own time. And so when you evaluate organizations, you have to make sure that your organizations are innovating, that your organizations are inventing, that your organizations are not saying, well, it works, so it's good enough. Because as Tesla has shown us, the innovators are going to win the day. As Amazon has shown us, the innovators are going to win the day. Peloton, Spotify, even Quicken have shown us the innovators are going to win the day. And to stay ahead as a company, that means we need to take a look at our current technology stack. We need to start looking at the way that conditions are cleared. We need to start looking at the way that we're pulling in documentation. And we have to make sure we continue to innovate. So for example, in loanDepot's case, coming in August, we're going to have technology that is going to be clearing income, asset, employment, all digitally, automatically, without a human being touching it on conventional loans, shortly thereafter government loans. Like, these aren't things that people have asked for, but these are things that you have to do to make sure that you stay ahead, because what is always coming around the corner is somebody trying to take your business, trying to take your revenue, trying to take your consumer, right? Think about with what you're doing as an originator on a local level. You are admittedly, while we don't want to admit it's a game or a sport, that's what we're playing. It is a win or lose situation, because the realtors that you're doing business with, the consumers that you're doing business with, are under attack. People are trying to win them from you. It is a you versus them situation. And the way that we've always communicated with these borrowers, with these referral partners, it's worked, right? You're doing loans today. You're doing more loans than maybe you ever have before. You've been able to retain realtors. You're doing a lot of business. So why do I need to change my birthday card method of staying in touch with originator or with my past clients? Why do I need to change the way that my company drip campaigns my past clients for me? Why do I need to change these things? Doesn't make sense, because it's working. But the issue is, because innovation is constantly coming over the hill, there is always another organization, another person that is trying to do things better, smarter, differently. You have to continue to adapt. And what that means is looking at the way that you communicate with your borrowers, looking at the way that you market them. So for example, again, the birthday card isn't good enough. You now need to create personalized messaging. You now need to actually engage with these individuals on their social sites. Go connect with them on Facebook, connect with them on LinkedIn, digitally send them a personalized note when the alert pops up and says, hey, today's their birthday. Say, hey, happy birthday. Like, the automated birthday card that they know you did nothing for isn't good enough anymore, right? When you look at how you communicate with your borrowers, you can't just rely on standard text message and email with words, because guess what? Everyone's been doing that for years. You absolutely need to begin to create personalization. You've got to look at video additions to it. And then if you are going to use a drip campaign, you can't say, company, it's okay to have crappy HTML logos. It's got to be custom. We've got to begin to think about how we're going to engage in the digital ad space, which we never thought of as retail in-market originators before, because we were living off of referrals and relationships and value add. But guess what, guys? You have to continue to innovate, because the book publishers never thought that Amazon was going to cannibalize their business in their own revenue maker by making a Kindle, right? The Nordic Tracks of the world never thought Peloton was going to come into their space and absolutely demolish what they're doing. And so when we look at our business and the necessity for innovation, you can't just rest on your laurels and say good enough is good enough, because it's not. Because the consumer, because the industry, because your competitors are going to continue to move the football down the field closer to an end zone that really is never there. You're never going to get to the end. And so again, it was just a kind of a neat, realization of constantly challenging what you're doing is a vital component to your success. I appreciate the guy from Amazon who posted that. I am going to end this live stream. We are 10 minutes in, and I think there's like, one or two of you watching. So with that, if you got any value, if you did watch this, I appreciate you. Thanks for checking it out, and have yourself a great day, guys.